morning, everyone. Welcome to another Coffee and Contemplation brought to you by Spotlight Recovery. It is April 12th. We've got it's a cute little story for this morning's reflection. It's a childhood story just on taking that first step and facing your fears. I really enjoyed it, so let's see what we can get out of this. So, April 12th, taking that first step. Many of our fears are tissue paper thin, and a single courageous step would carry us clear through them. By Brendan Francis. There was a huge slide at the park and Jaden was afraid to go on it. There were so many steps to climb to reach the top. All of his friends were climbing up the steps and yelling as they came down the long rolling slide. "Come on," said his friend Steve. "It's a lot of fun." "Isn't it a little scary?" asked Jaden. "A little bit," answered Steve, "but you get used to it." He ran off to go again. Jaden walked to the steps of the slide, his heart pounding in his chest. Slowly he placed his foot on the first step and lifted himself up. Courageously he climbed the ladder. When he reached the high platform, he felt as if he were standing on top of the world. We can learn from Jaden that by taking the first step, we can experience many exciting and wonderful things. We have all done it before, on the slide, on a bicycle, in school. Why not again? What fear can I walk through today? This inspiration is from today's gift, Daily Meditations for Families. Oh yeah, I just think this is so cute. I love, it's very visual for me, so I'm picturing and imagining the old childhood playground that I used to play on when I was a kid, and that because we had a big epic slide too. And I remember that. It was like a couple stories tall. This thing was awesome. Just the visualizations of the kids yelling and running and playing, and the one, my favorite's in the middle here, when he asks, "Isn't it scary?" and the friend's like, "A little bit, but you get used to it," and then just like runs off, just like that amazing kid response that somehow we lose as adults. I don't know how or why that happens. Anyway, I think it's just a really cute story, but I really like also just that the messaging and just this representation behind it. It actually can be really powerful. Like, it really resonates with me. And just starting with this quote, many of our fears are tissue paper thin. Facing fear is still one of the hardest things for me to do in recovery. That's still one of my biggest challenges in general, living day to day. And, on the smaller scale, or like a bit more surface level, I guess, they come up as things not going my way, me not getting what I want, things not going how I want, when I want, all of that. So that's like obviously a lot more fear, or just an inability. Me just fighting, letting go of control. Those are still just those like addict, I think also human control issues that we have. And so there's that kind of constant just debate and back and forth in my brain over things like that. But the underneath it all, the real fear, what's really beneath all of that, and that biggest one in general that I'm always having to work out for myself, is the fear that I'm not going to be okay. The fear that my needs aren't going to get met. So, and that's where things for us as addicts can get murky, and it can get tricky, because it's like, okay, where can we separate? Is this a fear of me having control issues and me not getting what I want, as opposed to a genuine, deep fear of me not getting what I need, So of course it's situational, and it can go back and forth, and that's something this is where mindfulness really comes in, just of always being mindful and aware of what's the root of this feeling and this fear, where is this really coming from, and then based on whatever that initial thought is, challenging that thought and doing some deep digging below it to see if it truthfully is this fear of a need not getting met, as opposed to my addict brain has masked this as a fear not getting met, when really it's just me wanting to start to reach out for control and have things my way and get into old behavior and character defects. So it's an important question just to ask yourself and to work through. And then it's also important to then be sharing this with others, especially other people in recovery, because we speak the language. So it's not to knock therapists and families and support systems and all that other stuff, but addicts really, we speak our own language. And so sharing this with another addict, they'll be able to really help you call you on your bullshit and just be like, okay, really, what's the real truth behind this? Where really is this a fear of a need not getting met versus just a fear of a lack of control or something like that? So sharing the stuff and talking to other addicts, I think, I know from my experience, it's just been really, really helpful and really makes a difference in digging through that stuff. And I think with this story, I think it's kind of a fun little comparison on with Jaden and then his friend Steve doing the same thing, where like Jaden wants to, but he's trying, he's not sure. His friend's encouraging him to give it a shot. And then, isn't it scary? Yeah, but you get used to it. It's clearly fine. And then he runs off to go do it again. So it's very much just like that newcomer talking to another addict who's been around a little bit longer. Come on, you'll be fine. It's going to be good for you. Yes, it's scary. You get used to it. I'm still doing this anyways. We're all in this together. We're all here. Let's all have fun together. Like, there's actually a lot of overlap in those two, which I think is really neat. The kids running around on the playground and the slide as opposed to the big kids running around in a meeting. I'm really seeing that overlap a lot right now as I'm talking to you about it. So anyway, so there's all those first thoughts, and then I just like the messaging behind this quote. Pardon me. And a single courageous step will carry us through those tissue paper thin fears. And I like how it just focuses on the messaging around all this is you have this fear, you have this thing. Okay, don't focus on the whole thing. Like, don't look at the whole slide and be like, oh my God, that's high. Just look at the first step on the ladder. Just focus on the first step to take to be facing this fear. Like, it's so many of us addicts. We lived in constant fear. We lived in constant fear. Just about all of us do. And I've seen time and time again. We just isolate, hide from the world, act out, use whatever it looked like for us. Even if we were out and doing something socially or with others, that's where that line of feeling alone in a room full of people comes from. Just because we were there physically doesn't mean we were there mentally, emotionally, every other way, right? So a lot of us really lived that way. And it got to the point, where just then life becomes overwhelming. Life is unmanageable. Life is too much. Everything is too damn scary. I can't do this. So I'm just going to isolate, hide, use, whatever. And then that's it. So this is a really important reframe and perspective shift for us on how to get out of that thinking. Because we've now quit doing drugs or acting out in whatever addictive behavior, that does not mean that our thinking process around this has changed at all. We've just removed our only knowing coping mechanism. So if anything, not only is that same thinking still there, we now are feeling all the feelings that come with it. So now our anxiety can go up with it big time. We can be having more trauma triggers of fears that were real or of failures in the past. Our depression then can kick in because we get so overwhelmed by this fear and, oh my God, I can't do anything. It's impossible. Life's too hard, and so on and so forth. So having this perspective shift on what's the first step we have to focus on to start facing this fear. It makes such a difference too, because we find that we do the focus, we take that first step. Now that's how you can start to get on a roll. That's how you can start to build some momentum through this and start working through it piece by piece. Because, depending on the fear may not just be a one and done thing to deal with. There in a bunch of ways can be a lot of little steps to be working towards and then conquering or dealing with this fear, facing it however you want to say it. And so they describe that later on in one of these main paragraphs farther down. And of course, this is a kid's story and it's very quickly written out. But starting so scared, heart pounding in the chest, takes the first step and then like dramatically describes lifting his whole body up on the step. And then from there, he then flies up the ladder, and then up at the top of the ladder, he's king of the world. So going through that process, facing the fear, taking those actions, and then, oh my God, look at this relief. Look at this feeling that I have from now facing and doing this. And it's funny too, just kind of this overlap I just thought of now is obviously us addicts are always looking for that payoff, that like I keep wanting to say like dopamine hit and rush, and that's not quite accurate. Dopamine, that word kind of gets thrown around in addiction a little loosely, but for lack of a better word, we're just going to stick with that for today. We're always looking for some kind of kick and some like emotional chemical spike of just like, yes, oh my gosh, this feels great. And so we get so worried, and then come into recovery, we're going to quit using or acting out, and then just saying, oh my God, where am I going to get this hit from now anymore? Where am I going to get this spike? How is this going to feel great? And it's so funny, and how like, well, here's a pretty direct and simple answer. Face your fears. Deal with your stuff. Work at these challenges, these things you've been avoiding, and you're going to be getting a similar euphoric feeling, only it's natural, coming naturally from your body. It's not being manipulated and falsely created in some false world or with a chemical boost. It's from genuinely doing the things you're supposed to do, showing up to life, facing fears and consequences and growth and challenges, and doing all of these things. There's actually so much similar overlap with these two, only this is like the version we're like supposed to be going after. Like, I think this is what normal people naturally do and understand. I don't know, I'm not one, I'm a drug addict. But I think this is how their brains work, so correct me if I'm wrong. So this is a thing for us to kind of learn and work at and realize, and boy does it make a difference. Boy does it feel good. And it pays off, because we don't have all of this past of shit and wreckage just piled up behind us that we're trying to sweep under the rug or avoid or whatever. We get all these incredible feelings on top of the payoffs of then actually facing these things and dealing with them. Actually showing up for this life that we have avoided so much through addiction. I mean, just these payoffs are endless. So I really can't stress and support this enough. It's amazing on how just we have this reflection about this cute little kid's story, and look at the messaging we're getting behind this. Look at all of the things you can take out of this and apply in your recovery. It's really something special. It's really powerful. So anyways, there we go. And that's what I got out of today's reflection. I really hope you resonated with it too. Please put down in the comments what stands out for you. What did you take out of this? I would love to hear it and see it. Those community contributions are so great. Please check out the description to see other ways on how Spotlight Recovery can support you. We've got other recovery coaching videos, a podcast, and blog all coming down the line. Everything's all connected through our website. There are ways you can support Spotlight Recovery on top of those comments, doing the YouTube things, sharing, subscribing, and liking if you're enjoying this content, because it helps us grow and helps us reach more people so more folks in recovery can hear this messaging that they really need. You can also donate to support the growth of the channel, become a member, get yourself some branded merch. We've got a great clothing line there, and they're really good, comfortable, soft, like high-quality clothing. So check all that out. And then last is I do recovery coaching with folks. So if you're liking some of this messaging and just not quite figuring out how you can apply it in your life, or feel like you want some support to be taking these steps, then please reach out to me. Links in the description. I'd be happy to see if there's a way that I can help coach you in your recovery. Okay? So there we go. April 12th, there's our reflection for today. Thank you for stopping by. Wishing you a blessed 24 in your recovery today, facing those fears and taking those first steps. That'd be a great one in the comments. What's a first step you're going to take today for a fear that you're going to face. Throw it down there. We'd love to see it. So get out there, enjoy it, and we'll see you again tomorrow.